Hello, welcome to One Moment Wiser. This is Christy Bridges, and I have an amazing lady with us today. I have Debra Trappen, and she is the founder of Fire Up Your Moxie. And she goes around speaking and encouraging women. She has a podcast and does live presentations, and she's certainly encouraged me. I respect her so much that I invited her to be part of the Option Ocean devotional that we're creating. So Option Ocean, if you haven't heard about it yet, is a devotional book that's designed for those people who are kind of on the edge of that sea of possibility, and you're supposed to be something, but you're not really sure what or where you're going with it. And we're focused on the 18 to 25-year range. But honestly, as we've unveiled our stories, we've discovered that at different times in all of our lives, we kind of have to cross that option ocean again. And so Debra's here to share a little of her story, because I imagine you or someone you know probably needs to hear it. Thanks, Debra, for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you. I've got my Fire Up coffee, and I wanted to show you this because my niece made this for me, and it says, "You are the one." Isn't that great?
I love that.
So whenever I bring it up to my mouth, I'm like, yes, you're right. Jesus, do something. Yay.
It's neat to be an auntie. Let me tell you. Are you an auntie or an aunt?
I'm an auntie, but my nieces call me Tante, which is aunt in German. So they call me Tante.
I like it.
Yeah, a little special little name.
Exotic aunt.
I'm not an aunt. I'm either Auntie Debra or Tante. Yeah.
Tante. I like it. So you are also a winner. You've been nominated for an award recently. Where is that? I want to read this. I thought this was super cool. Illuminating Women said you are a woman who empowers. You tell us to trust our instincts, help us find our innate strengths, show us our stories and experiences, successes and failures, triumphs and fears, prepare us to take control of our lives and own our futures. We're more capable because you've helped us find our confidence and recognize our personal power. That is high praise, girl.
Yeah, it's so interesting. When I was tagged in the post, I was like, oh, the IW community said something, and so I popped over there, and as I'm reading it, I'm sure as a lot of Christians do, part of you's like, oh, I know whose I am and I know who I am. I don't need praise on this planet, but it sure does feel good to be recognized,
Yes, it does.
It feels good, to him be the glory, but man, it felt good to read that. And, it's the group, the community of women who have honored me with that nomination is a group that they come together on a monthly basis a few times. It's not just once a month. They have different types of events that they do. And they're just a really vivacious, courageous, super gracious group of women. And I presented my Empowering Your Lioness Pride talk to them. And this was a message that I had built for another women's conference about how women can actually support and encourage one another and find their pride that they're meant to do life with. And it's a really intense talk because it really talks about who we are as women and as Christian women, that, our words speak life. We are life givers, our bodies, our voices, and how if we don't find that right group of women that we love to support and that want to support us, we spend our life in competition with everyone. And we lose sight of what our purpose is. And it resonated with them in a way that I wouldn't say surprised me, but I would say encouraged me that it was the right message to bring at the right time. And I'm thankful that I listened to the Spirit, that that's what I was supposed to talk about.
Me too. I can't imagine that ever not being something for the right, for that moment, because we are so degraded when we just compete with one another, when we avoid other women and hang out with just men, or, and I like men, but when we, isolate ourselves because we can be the only one,
Yeah.
then we lose a lot of our own potential. And we also hold ourselves back as far as just loving life. When we are able to empower others and collaborate together, like we have on this book, and work together and celebrate each other's skills and successes, then we actually open up a little bit. We're a little bit more vulnerable, but we're a little more capable too. We feel stronger, don't we? Absolutely. I like the lioness's pride, and I don't know. I just dig that. That's neat. Where did you get that?
So, it's so interesting. When I was putting the talk together, I love acronyms. Like, there's camps of people who love acronyms and there's others that hate them. I love them, particularly because as a keynoter, so when I go up and speak, having an acronym keeps me on track.
That's very smart.
I'm like, okay, all right, I'm on O. All right, what's N? Like I'm thinking ahead, right? But the concept of a lioness pride is a beautiful thing. It's, lionesses, they come together in nature as small groups. Prides of lionesses are 20 or less. And they have all of these really interesting rituals. And I learned so much about them. Lions don't actually roar. It's like a purr. It's a low roar. And so what we think is a purr, when we hear that like low sound, it's actually a really low roar. And it's communicating with their pride. And, they rub each other when they meet, and their whole mission is to work together for the good of all of them. And it was just such a beautiful analogy, right, for the women in the audience to see, wow, look at these beautiful animals. Like they can come together and yes, they might fight, but they also come together and they protect their young, and they move across the Serengeti with grace and courage. And it really just created this movement that I hadn't even anticipated, right? That now, lioness is everywhere inside my community. And I've really embraced that, right? Because I'm a Leo. I was born in August. I have this huge fiery mane. So it just, again, it wasn't of my own doing. I was very obedient with where it went. And even the intro, so I walk out on stage and it's this big roar, right? These huge roars, and the crowd went wild. The women were like, wow. So it was just, it's one of those things that when on the other side of it, your heart is panting and you're like, yes, yes, yes. I actually did a podcast, which I'll share with you. So I did a podcast of the talk for those women who couldn't be there to hear it live. And it's the most listened to podcast I've ever done, ever, by far. Thousands and thousands of downloads.
I bet. It's fun when you can let go and everybody goes, yes, I totally identify with that. When you just get out there and go all out and it's received. I like it.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Well, and the whole concept of the Fire Up Your Moxie movement is really helping women truly define and design the best version of themselves, so that when they walk out into their communities, when they walk into church or work or to have coffee or a glass of wine with their girlfriends, that they're going there knowing who they are. Right. And so that the conversations aren't filled with competition. They're filled with leaning in and collaborating, and they can share their successes because they can actually recognize them, since they defined what an actual success to them is. And it really has changed not only the way that I engage with my own community, but I hear stories every day. And of course, I speak mainly to women because I've got a feminine voice and they're kind of attracted to it. But men, it works for men too, right? Moxie is definitely not a for women only word. I actually think the Moxie soda back in the day actually had a dude on the front.
I first heard it in some, I don't know, gangster kind of thing. So, totally makes sense.
Moxie. It's a fun word, you know? It makes people go, it makes people go, what? Moxie? I want Moxie. How do I get Moxie?
Moxie, yeah. It's like mojo.
Right. It's great.
You know, I like that you talk about helping people find their own, their own definition of who they are, what their strengths are, what they're about. Because instead of comparing ourselves and never measuring up, right? We actually go, I am really good at this. Yeah. I actually really like this and I don't like that. And I'm okay with that, you know, and then we find strength and we find focus. You, in your chapter for Option Ocean, wrote that 80% of women agree every woman has something about her that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But they don't see their own beauty.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I know.
Change that, because beauty is not just something. I mean, I think by now, hopefully we all at least understand, even if we haven't internalized it, beauty is not something that is smudged up and perfected before we post it online, you know, those little photo edits that we want to do. That's not beauty. Beauty is walking out on stage with a roar, or being the quiet one that someone feels at peace around, or being able to fix your own car, or being able to flag down someone who can fix your own car.
Right.
Beauty varies broadly, and we have to know which one is, you know, what's our beauty, where we are, so that we can shine in that.
Absolutely. Well, and that stat in particular stood out to me because we as women, if we don't realize that other women feel the same way, we can feel isolated. We can feel like I'm the only unattractive person in this room. I'm the biggest or the smallest, you know, whatever the est is that we're comparing ourselves to. And we all have it. It could be our eyebrows. It could be our nose. It could be our breasts, whatever, right? Yeah. There's something that we don't love about ourselves, and then everyone else's is better. And the whole concept of embracing and firing up your moxie is actually, that's you. Right. And I think the things that you mentioned, Christy, those are your purpose. Living in your purpose is beautiful.
It is. And it inspires everyone around you.
Yeah, exactly. It is that a magnet, right? You become magnetic. People want to be around you whether you are the woman who roars from stage, or you are that soft, pillowy shoulder that somebody can sink into when they need a sacred space, right? And I think that it's so amazing when women actually get to the point in their life where they're like, yes, this is who I am. And I'm so excited to bring it to the world. I'm so excited to tell everyone I know how I can serve them best, because they just light up. It's as simple as that.
Yes, it takes a little refinement, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about, sometimes we don't notice our own strengths because we think we're the only one in the room that has a flaw. And in your chapter, you mentioned that you would get the lead in a high school play and think, oh, they just got me because, they felt sorry for me since I'm chubby. Yeah. No, they liked you because you can walk out on a stage and roar and remember your lines if they're an acronym.
Right. Well, and most of that I was actually in grade school, right? And so that's that time in grade school. And I went to parochial school. And so there were always, the Christmas plays. And I remember thinking, I only got this because I'm blessed to be able to shine for Jesus. Thank you for this opportunity. And if there's one thing that, I hope comes from this chapter that I'm praying over everyone who reads it, is that they find that relationship, that part of the relationship with God, as soon as possible. It's not my parents' fault that I got grounded. It's me. And that's how God is he's working it out in me, not allowing me to go to, like we were talking earlier about going to an amusement park, getting grounded. Like that's not my parents' fault that I don't get to do that. That's me. And vice versa. When I get something great, it's the talent that God put in me. He's giving me this opportunity to go out there and shine. And I want to be so excited about it, as opposed to sitting in a poor me place thinking, wow, I didn't really get this because I'm the most talented. I got it because somebody feels sorry for me. And it's, I didn't even remember some of those feelings until I started writing that letter that you had us write. And I think that is one of the most epic experiences I've had as a writer, Christy. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, one of the things that Christy had all of the potential collaborators do is write a letter to our 18-year-old self. And wow, I mean, I was bawling my eyes out. It sounds like a lot of other people were, right? I was so emotional writing that. And I honestly was like, writing a letter to my 18-year-old self, what am I going to say? I keep putting it off.
Trying reading it. You're like, we did that though, because we had ideas of what a young person would need. And I think we needed to connect with how grown up we really were at the time. And yet how, different our idea of what our future would hold was, and needed to, boy, I tell you, I think we broke like 1,000,000 laws of time travel with some of the secrets we gave away in those letters.
Yes.
So, I'm so we can't probably ever go back and see our teenage selves because we're just too open. But
hilarious. I love it. And I'm so excited to read everyone else's. I mean, I started just the comments inside the author group. I thought this book is going to bless. It's going to bless. It's going to change lives. It's going to change trajectory. It really is. And it's one of those books that you read and you think, man, who can I get this in the hands of? Because if I only had this when I was that age, right?
Yeah. Some of the most important lessons came out as a little bit of a surprise. There's so much love there and so much you can do it, and a little bit of refinement in understanding. We have this wide open ocean of options in front of us, but we have to learn who we are. And that takes trial and error, right? That takes trial and error, and it takes discovering how far our limits are. I personally knew that I wanted to perform. I was going to grow up and be a movie star. And then as I got older and actually did some plays, I realized I like writing my own stuff, and I like to sing. Well, so I went out and sang and sang in environments that didn't light me up, about topics that seemed kind of to waste people's time, until I discovered, so it was a process of refining. And the whole time, like you said, God has these wonderful things for us to do, but he wants to do them with us, right? And so it was a process of getting closer and closer to him, so that I could see that what really lights me up is the stuff he put inside me, and expressing it with him to the world. I love that you said you followed the Spirit when you did that lioness speech, because that's what makes it powerful. God alone knows the individual people that are out in that audience and what they need at the moment, how to get through to them. When we're lined up with them, it is, oh man, it gets me pumped.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite things on Sunday morning is when the pastor steps on stage and says, well, I had this message prepared, but in the shower, I'm like, oh, put your seatbelt on. Like, this gonna be good. Because, when you are listening to a preacher that is so connected to the Spirit and the message, and they listen to the still small voice, you're like, oh, this is going to be for me. I know it, because I think we forget that we are so similar to everyone around us. I mean, that's why that stat of 80% of women see beauty in every woman they meet but they don't see it in themselves. That's 80%. And it's probably even higher than that. It's just, that's sampling, right? But 80+% look around and see beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then look in the mirror and say, So if you think about that, 8 out of 10 women are walking around feeling that way. So when you're sitting in a crowd at a conference and somebody's speaking into that, 80% of the room is leaning in going, that's me, I feel that way. And so if we speak to our own pain, if we share, I love to say, whenever I'm going in a valley, I'm like, oh, I'm living my testimony. I'm living my testimony. I'm living my testimony. Come on. Like I want to get through it in, as fast as divinely possible, please. But I know he's going to use it because I know I'll talk about it at some point on a podcast, in a blog, on stage, and someone in that room or a whole lot of someone's are going to go, me too. Yes. Go, go, go. How did you heal? What happened? Right. And so I think that as Christians, we're so blessed to know that God doesn't waste anything. And if we are just vulnerable and share those sides of ourselves, like so many did in those letters, that we are going to shine a light of hope and of sheer excitement and inspiration to lean into who you are as soon as possible, whether you're 18 or 80. Doesn't matter. It's never too late. Like, rock it out.
I know a 60-year-old who's going through a change of life right now, and what she's always done is gone. And she's looking at, okay, where am I going next, God? And there's never a time in life that God can't say, hey, we're starting a new journey tomorrow. You want to go? Because why not? You're still breathing, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I was listening to probably about 3 years ago now, Jane Fonda did this TED Talk for TEDx Women, and it was on the third act. And, her countenance has really changed in this stage of life for her. Like, she is soft but fierce, and she's really all about women kind of just stepping into this strong place when they are over 60. Right. It's like, don't slouch. Like, we need you in the Christian community. It's like, we need our Naomis, we need our Naomis. Don't lay down and die. Like, don't use these last 30 years, because 60 to 90 is it's a whole new life.
It is.
That God is allowing us to live on this planet. And so don't waste it. And I love everything that she talks about in that. And I'm constantly saying, you're in your third act, you go, girl. Like, how can I support you? How can I introduce you to my community? Because my community needs the Naomi, right? I am a Naomi to the 20 somethings, but I need my Naomi in my 40s. And I love that there's this connection between the generations that social media allows. Everyone likes to bash social media for all the crazy about it, but man, there are some beautiful parts about it. I know more people and more stories than I ever would have had access to, and they're beautiful stories, right?
You read my mind just now. I mean, literally, that's what I was going to say next. Was I love that we have been able to see real people, not all polished and, under makeup and flaw removal and stuff for 12 hours, but actual real people at all ages just jumping online and sharing part of their lives. I have enjoyed that so much. Some of the collaboration groups I've been in this year with you, actually, it's where I met you. Yes. People who are going through the transition from widowhood, or who are beginning new adventures at 70, all these people are pouring into me wisdom about how to make decisions, how to think more effectively, how to balance life. Because as we get older, I shot out of the nest at high speed. And, my whole family tends to do this. We just go, 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 and then fall apart. And then go, 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 and fall apart. And it's like, it was just silly. For the first, probably until I was almost 30, that's how I lived. And it was fun, but also stressful and exhausting and not sustainable. Now that I'm a little bit older and I've learned more about balancing my own life,
Right.
it's really neat to hear from the even older women that that's right to do, that you have to be a whole person who actually loves your body and doesn't just force it to stay awake, who
Yes.
actually loves your mind and does things to keep it engaged, and who actually chooses your thoughts and doesn't let that inner critic just blab on all day until you're a mouse in the corner, right? You actually in the chapter talk about changing the words that inner voice is saying, because I think we all have that little part of us that's like, oh, that's not right. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, blah blah blah. You're out of time, and you should have done more. And you not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. Right?
Yes.
And you give some really helpful tips for, putting little notes in your purse and in your car and at your mirror and everywhere, little love notes to yourselves.
Wow.
And I that just melted me. I was like, oh.
Well, part of that mission, the fire up mission that God has placed in me as my purpose here, is about saying, shame off you for those thoughts. It's all right. Like, we all have them. And what we have the ability to do with this beautiful brain that God has given us is to say, I recognize you, but I'm not staying with you.
That's right.
And here is what I would like to think instead. and that we have, because those thoughts are our daily thoughts, 80% of there's 80 again, right? 80% of our daily thoughts are repetitive. So every day we think the same things over and over and over, 80%. And the statistics are insane. Up to 90% of those 80% can be negative. So if we can wrangle ourselves a little bit, get in the front seat of those thoughts and say, okay, so I always know when I look in the mirror, I look here, here, and here and think, nope, nope, nope. What do I need to say instead? What do I need to say to those places instead? How do I have a better conversation with myself, with my heart, with my eyes? And how do I speak life into myself? Because we don't speak that into other people. We don't speak those things into others. So why do it to ourselves? Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
It's so true. Well, and one of the places that we do this the worst is when we are taking care of our bodies. Ask me what I'm wearing. Ask me what I'm wearing.
Yes, I'm dying to tell. What are you wearing?
Okay, so in our book, Option Ocean, we had another writer named Smiley Elmore, who I'm going to interview later, and he is a bodybuilder. Now, ask me if I ever want a bodybuilder to see this hot and sweaty and red in the face. No.
And here I thought you were going to say yes.
Right. So, but he has invited me after our interview to work out at his gym. And so I said, well, backseat voice, I'm just not going to listen to you, and I am going to take care of this body that is taking me places that I love to go. This body can still dance, and this body can still bike, and this body can still travel and help people, and I'm going to take care of it. And you actually shared something in your chapter that makes me cry just to read it. And I've read it like 3 times. You'd think you'd be numb, right? But it just gets me all like choked up, and I'm like, oh. And I know that everybody who is watching us is going to get their own copy of the book because it's so full of good stuff. But I still want to let the secret out. Can you read that section or tell us that story?
Sure, absolutely. So my chapter is on self-love, if you haven't figured that out yet, and helping us with replacing the negative thoughts that really pelt at us all day. And so I was sharing this. A few months ago, I was doing yoga in the dim of my studio, and my guide was whispering sweet instructions. Hold, stretch, breathe. In that moment, I realized I was talking to myself again. This time, my words were sweet, kind, and encouraging. I was thanking my body for never giving up on me during the years I was so cruel to her. I was promising to love and nurture her until the end. Whew. It was such a beautiful moment.
And it's something that I want everybody I know to experience.
Yeah.
God gives us such amazing gifts. And all he asks is that we go, whoa, God, this is an amazing gift. Thanks. And then make good use of it.
Yes.
And that means that no matter what shape our body is, he gave it to us because it fits the life that he wants us to have, and it fits the audience that he wants us to minister to, whether that's 5-year-olds in after school care that you're ministering to, or whether that's, an audience on a stage. So I think I want to close with just encouraging everybody here to embrace that, to start making responses that you would prefer to think about, things that when your inner critic starts yapping, you can say, I agree to disagree, and here's what I want to think. And embrace that self-love. Aubrey and Connie are here today listening to us. And Connie, thank you so much. You are actually the adventurer at 70 that just totally inspires me the most, I think. And Aubrey, I haven't met you, but I love your quote. The beauty of a woman is not in a facial mode, but the true beauty in a woman is reflected in her soul. You quoted Audrey Hepburn. I love that.
Quick, Christy, Aubrey is my niece who made me the mug.
Aubrey, oh, you're wonderful, and I like your mug.
I think I would love to say this. Be seen as who you are right now.
Yes.
I think there's so much power. I believe and I feel there is so much power in being seen as you are right now, because you are constantly changing. Who you are tomorrow will be different than who you are today and who you'll be in a year. So just be open to showing and sharing who you are right now as you are.
Yes. Oh, thank you. That is a wonderful word. So I'm Christy Bridges with One Moment Wiser, and this is Debra Trappen with Fire Up Your Moxie. You can contact Debra or myself to get your copy of Option Ocean. And I would definitely check out Debra's podcast and see if she can't come to your town and talk to you. God bless you today. We'll talk to you later. Bye.